Hi, I'm Cynthia Cheng Correia, co-founder and chief of decision development with the Decision Collaborative, and welcome to the Decision Collaborative.
And I'm August Jackson, co-founder of the Decision Collaborative and chief of decision operations. It's really great to be here with everyone today in our new YouTube channel and announce the launch of this channel and the Decision Collaborative. This is an opportunity for us to connect with our peers who are seeking their own opportunities to explore decision making, and for us to look for opportunities to provide decision support, especially inside of organizations.
Yeah, and this is actually an outgrowth of a series of conversations that August and I have been having probably for years about this topic and related topics and questions surrounding them about the importance of good decision making. We've been having conversations with one another and with others in, one of the fields that we practice in competitive intelligence about what it means to make good decisions, what contributes to good decision making, and what defines good decision making. How does that happen? And so we started to examine various facets of it, which is one of the reasons that we created the Decision Collaborative, the practice, and the channel, is because we identified a number of things that have been missing in the way that I think we're including ourselves here, right, over time, over a few decades of practice, and our broader communities have been practicing, in the sense that we lack certain foundations in decision making. Decisions are important. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. But do we really have the toolkits to do that? Is it just about having enough information and analysis? And as we started to explore this, we realized that there's a lot more to it. And so we started to develop some foundational understanding and some foundational tools that we're looking forward to sharing with you here. And we've also identified a couple of really important areas of practice for this day and age. There are certainly many different domains in which we can apply decision making. But to start, we're focusing more on how decision making is augmented and intersects and amplified, or maybe even limited by AI. And so that's one aspect we're looking forward to sharing with you. And we're also really looking forward to sharing with you how decision works with polycrisis, which is also something we're steeped in today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, August, and we can dive a little bit more deeply into these dimensions.
Yeah, I want to second all of that you just talked about there, and the sort of the emerging and very existential challenges to decision making in our modern era. And while I'm here to double click for a moment on really the importance of decision making, because we know that business leaders or organizational leaders are making hundreds of decisions a day. And most of those are unconscious and very small decisions. But some of them are really quite significant, and the outcomes or the effects of those decisions can ripple across teams. They can affect corporate strategy or input or corporate culture even, and that better decisions yield better outcomes. So in the context and in the background, particularly of AI and what that means and all the uncertainties that opens up in the world today, as well as polycrisis, which is its own distinct concept that we will have video shortly talking more about that on this channel as well, and what polycrisis is and how it relates to prediction and decision making. Um, that this is a really vital time to look at the premise of decision making itself and understand what's working well, understand what we can do better, and then designing paths to close the gap from where we are today to where we think we can be as decision support professionals, as executives that are making decisions inside of organizations today. And it's interesting, we both arrived here in various ways from our own professional journeys. And I've got my story, but before I give everybody my life story, Cynthia, if I may, I'd like to hand it over to you and hear a little bit about your journey and how you arrived at the Decision Collaborative.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we come at this differently, because you and I, through our conversations, we also recognize the multi and cross dimensionality, the intersectional aspects of decision making as a field. And there is a field of decision science, right? it really requires an understanding of intersections of different practices. And so as practitioners ourselves, we're required to do that too, to put it into into actual practice, right? Uh, so for us, I come at this from the standpoint of, well, way back when, knowledge management, information management,
Mm.
getting my start during the dot-com boom professionally. And so, and that's basically the platform. And I moved into competitive intelligence pretty quickly from there. And so that's, when I started to really understand the power of structuring our questions, the power of perspective, the power of structuring the types of decision support that can then support decision makers. But what we also keep finding is that, and this is across the board, right? It's not just you and I, the various colleagues have also observed this, that we keep hitting the wall in which people feel that that's just not enough, right? There needs to be more. And there are always these barriers to decision making. And sometimes they're properly identified and sometimes they're not. And so it's really important for us, to bring in, our various backgrounds, but whether or not it's from information, knowledge sciences, like mine, and also with competitive intelligence, and then foresight work that I work on, or what you do, August, right? The way that you've come into this.
Yeah, and yeah, I came to it. We both have that competitive intelligence background, and I also have significant experience in corporate settings doing strategy work as well. So, a 20+ year career of competitive intelligence and strategy and market intelligence and various flavors of those functions, and would very often see that insight or intelligence was not always translated into either a decision or subsequent execution, and have been on this professional/personal journey of my own to understand what is that about. Because very often, to your point, the inability or the challenges making a decision would lead stakeholders to demand more intelligence, and very often realizing, through various settings, we've reached the limit of certainty or granularity or resolution. I'm going to be able to deliver you through intelligence cycle, through the intelligence cycle. What can we do internally related to how we're evaluating that information in order to make a decision, in order to, let's say, invert the problem, as it were, to say that the problem or the issue isn't necessarily the need for more intelligence or more specificity, but actually to look at the decision as the unit of information that we were working with. And there are times I've had great success with that in various organizations, based on who was there, the corporate culture, how ready they were willing to take that look back at how they were making decisions, and take that approach, but also been very challenged with that as well. That some organizations that kind of struggled to understand, for various reasons, why an intentional approach to decision making was the answer, as opposed to more information or better intelligence or those sorts of things. Whether or not better intelligence was something that was even achievable, with infinite resources, let alone with the resources we might have had at the moment of the time. So for me, the Decision Collaborative is this continuation of this professional journey that I've been on for a while, to understand things like stakeholder psychology. Because Cynthia, you mentioned the premise of decisions in a cross-functional context, and thinking about all the systems that come into play as well. And human psychology being way up there on the list is one of those important systems.
Right, absolutely. Behavioral sciences is a huge part of this that's neglected because we tend to over-index on how much information we have and the best
Exactly.
analytical tools. And in the work that we've done so far in mapping this out, we found that those are really two of 7 or 8, depending on how you want to, look at it, other dimensions. And we neglect most of these others, but those are the biggest barriers. So that's a bit of a teaser for another conversation or two or few. But one of the things, so what you talked about too, in terms of the struggles of leaders, also reminds me of the McKinsey, there's a 2019 McKinsey survey
Hmm.
in which the CEOs had mentioned that, or reported that that their organizations, I mean, most CEOs, most CEOs would struggle, they say that their organizations struggle with decision making, and they're dissatisfied with the level of decision making in the organization. And so, and yeah, it's a conversation that you and I've had a number of times, exploring this and thinking about the whys behind this. And I think, one of the key reasons, that we really do need to explore is that we're not taught how to make decisions.
Mhm.
So as we become more expert in our fields, we are promoted and we're advanced, right? These like the Peters principle. And we become more visible, we have more responsibilities, we make more decisions, but we're not taught how to make the decisions. So this is sort of the equivalent of a professor, right? An expert in his or her field. And they get the professorship, they're teaching in the classroom, but they're not necessarily taught how to teach, right? And there's that gap. And I see decision making as very similar to that.
Mm.
And so you and I are really excited about talking about ways that we can help people fill that gap, right? To be able to look at ways that we can help facilitate people's learning about some foundational approaches, but also importantly too, we've identified the gap between decision research, of which there is a huge and ever growing body, and the practice of decision making.
Mm.
So few of that, so little of that research makes its way over into the practice field. It's siloed, right, in the research realm, and so that's another area in which we're really excited to help penetrate and to try to break through and bring more of that understanding over, because the research is ever growing. But we're still stuck, most of us, many of us, in the same ways that we've been practicing. And that's really a shame.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love the professorial analogy because it makes me think of what it means the first time a technical expert in a corporate setting is promoted to be a team lead or a people manager. And that is its own, like decision making, its own set of skills and knowledge and experiences that sometimes is not taught. And so, similarly, I think to how organizations might sort of be hoping and praying that they've designated a good decision maker, who just innately has those skills or learned it somewhere else. It's a similar thing with, sometimes with, people putting people into people management or a team lead role for the first time. That it's like, okay, well, do they or do they not have the skills to do this? So that's a really great analogy. And then two, the accessibility that you talked about of the information, because as we've explored building the decision collaborative, we have seen a number of resources out there, from business schools and academic journals and the like, that are providing valuable insight on decision making and decision support and what works well. So we're not inventing so much here in the decision collaborative, so much as seeing all the great work that's out there and trying to bridge that to decision support people inside of corporate settings, various functional roles like our previous lives as competitive intelligence and strategy people. And then also the decision makers themselves, that probably are not reading academic journals or going back for their second or third MBA to see the latest and greatest that's coming out of academia. And that's one of the gaps that, well observed on your part, Cynthia, that I'm sure we both hope the decision collaborative and intend for the decision collaborative to help bridge.
Yeah, and that's the collab, right?
Mm.
I know personally, I just enjoyed working with you as a colleague before the collab, because it was just a wonderful to exchange these ideas, right? And it's a lot of the yes and let's explore this. And I think that that's helped to expand our mindsets and our own practices and help answer some questions that you might have been exploring. And I'm really excited for the collab to bring in other experts. We're looking forward to asking really insightful questions exploring, some, potential solutions for people, and bringing insights. But importantly is to really lean into the idea that this is cross and intersectional. So to bring to you
Mhm.
experts. Yeah, well, I'm chomping at the bit to interview these people, right? People who might be, from the realm of, decision science proper, right? But people who, are also specialists in specific types of practices and industries. People who are behavioral psychologists, who might look at biases, for
Mhm.
example, or even behavioral economists in that sense, foresight practitioners,
Definitely.
a whole host of people who have a stake in this, who have skills and experiences, that can help us come together and sharpen our own practices across the board. So I feel like the collab here is really not just the two of us and the people that we'll be bringing into, our own daily circle, but also the audience itself, because we want to
Mhm.
hear from you. We want to hear your questions. We want to hear about your challenges, and that will help us also key in on areas that maybe we're not seeing, right? That we can also then bring, more expertise and insights, to this channel and elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I really look forward to the collab aspect that really includes you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you're giving a great preview, Cynthia, of some of the things that people can expect to see in this channel. So, as we're closing out this, Hello World video, people might look at this and say, well, what can I expect from this channel and from the Decision Collaborative in the future? Um, we've got uh, an ambitious but achievable plan for a weekly-ish cadence of videos on this topic, and in fact, this is sort of the first of what I would consider maybe a trilogy of videos where, first we're introducing the collaborative, um, and then we're pivoting to that trilogy to talk about decision foundations and all of the myriad facets that go into decision making. Quite a bit more on that table than most people think is there, and then addressing the two sort of issues of the moment, the existential issues of the moment, polycrisis, and what does artificial intelligence mean for modern decision making as well. So, what else um, can people expect from this channel and the collaborative?
Well, I'm also really excited for, well, the other things to be to be revealed, as time comes. But really importantly, I think, is for us to just begin the conversation, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
and then as we continue to grow the collab, I feel, like I said, it's really important for people to also weigh in, but it's also really important that you share this with your colleagues. So I don't want to just give you the usual, like, hey, like and subscribe. Hey, that's great. We want that.
Ring that bell.
But I think it's also really important. The way we've also structured this too, is that these are going to be conversations that you can take to your teams every week to be able to help sharpen your team's perspectives and perhaps your team's own practices, to give you conversations and tools to work with. And so we hope that you're also going to make these topics or these videos uh, weekly appointment viewing, if you will. So I know, as you view it, share it with your colleagues in your own organizations and your team members. Maybe even organize, weekly watch parties around these to discuss some of these topics, or around some of the interviews that we'll be having. Because we're going to be holding, some conversations with really interesting, insightful people, and we're trying to break silos, is what I'm trying to say,
Yes.
right? Trying to break silos from the academic research part and bring best practices in. But we also want to break silos within organizations too, so that we can, within organizations within and across teams, talk more about how we can improve decision making. So we hope that you'll be partnering with us with that as well. So that you'll share these videos and just, be here with us regularly.
Yeah, great point. Fantastic appointment viewing. So just to close out, would like to say thank you everyone who has watched this point in this video, and at the risk of sounding pedantic, I would say like and subscribe our channel, but definitely subscribe to the channel so that you can be alerted when we do produce these future videos. And like I said, we have a pretty ambitious plan to roll things out on a weekly basis. And Cynthia, your point about this being really good material for team meetings in particular is absolutely spot on.
Yeah, we want this to be a tool for everybody, not just for people individually, but for us collectively, because that's
Mm.
really when we're going to make the most difference. I know that for me, just actually partnering with you, August, on this has improved my practice, right? Has expanded what we can do, right? Because
Likewise.
collectively we can do a lot more. And so I hope that we can grow geometrically with our audience as well on this. So please do that. And comment section, share with us some of your decision challenges today. What are some of the things that you run up against that you struggle with on a regular basis, or maybe it's even a one-off that you're just wondering about, or even quite frankly, if you want to vent, what's your beef? We've done our share of
We
that.
will have venting sessions as well at some point in the collaborative because I could tell you.
Exactly. So we want to create a community around this so that not only are we tackling some very serious questions that's going to help propel our practices and solve some real problems for ourselves and collectively, but we also want to have fun doing it. I know that it's been a blast
Mhm.
just coming to this point with you, August. And I feel like, for us to be able to expand that with the audience will be very important. So we hope that you'll have fun with us also on this journey and in exploring all things decision.
Yes, absolutely. So
Collaborate.
yeah, so thanks so much, everybody. We'll call it a day here. And come back. Like I said, subscribe and come back to this space because we'll be back in a week-ish to begin with the foundations of decision making, which is going to be
In the
absolutely
meantime, we
fascinating.
might post a couple of teaser questions, some things
Yeah,
to think about. But importantly too, let's collaborate.